So we're back at it, and this time we're weighing out telekinesis, super healing, time travel, and necromancy. There was a lot of debate about these four over on TikTok, but now I'm asking you, which superpower would you choose? Let's go over the powers and how useful they are in today's world. How much of a threat would you be, and if you need a secondary power to be able to safely use them. Now first off is telekinesis. Now this is a power that most kids have wished for, and to some level we all want it for one reason or another. Move things around with your mind or make people do things against their will, respectfully. But how useful is it in today's world? Being able to move things with your mind is a very versatile power that can assist you immensely in your day-to-day life. Chores become lightweight. Fetching things around the house is on easy mode. Be a top-notch magician or con artist. Petty revenge is now limited to your imagination. And even though it would take a good bit of concentration, you technically can fly. But what are the drawbacks to this power? What other powers are needed to safely have this? Well, the problem with this is more depending on how much weight you can actually lift with your mind and how many things you can lift at a time. Now, assuming the power works like a muscle, it will take a constant practice to build up from small objects to you eventually hurling vehicles and higher. The things are all stuff that could simply be improved upon as your skill increases, but out the gate you would need, well, come to think of it, I don't know how to word it exactly, but the ability to shield your mind and body from the backlash of hitting your limit when using the power. I imagine using this to lift something too heavy would be the powered equivalent to pulling a muscle or possibly snapping it. So let's call it instant recovery. Endurance and durability would be nice, since when you're using your power, you're open to attacks. You need to be able to survive a sucker punch. Super stamina, because this has to be incredibly draining to use. Other than that, this power alone isn't dangerous or life-threatening to use. So all of that would make you a serious threat. Nowhere near global, but definitely dangerous enough to build up to city level. Next up, we have super healing. Now this is an overly simple ability, and the benefits don't need a great explanation. You get hurt, you instantly heal. Now, just like the last video, you can also use this power in a number of ways in your daily life, but the problem with this is you gotta watch out for the government or any other organization that can snatch you up from public displays of your power. But if I knew I could constantly undo any major injury, I would be a pro wrestler, a trapeze walker, a base jumper, a tiger tamer, a skydiver, an MMA fighter, boxer. I mean, any profession that brings forth life-changing injuries is now on the table. So what type of threat would this make you? Depends on how quick you heal and what skill you have outside of it. Because healing isn't an offensive ability. It just makes you annoying to kill or to deal with, period. So just a self-healer with no other abilities, best case a menace that's definitely annoying. But if you're like Deadpool and that has a skill set in healing factor, you can bump up the city. You have to go on tour to be a global threat, and that's gonna take a while unless you nuke the planet and then just heal back from it. So there's that. But what about the other powers needed to safely have this one? Well, people fail to realize that yes, you heal, but you still feel the pain until it's done. So pain reduction. Also, I would say super mental fortitude, because the constant pain is bound to ruin your mental state at some point. I think these are the main two things that make the power safe. Otherwise, no pain, no gain. Now next up we have time travel. Possibly one of the scariest powers to have that would also be the biggest cheat code to any situation. You can literally have the edge in any scenario when all you have to do is skip forward or backward to have all the knowledge you need to come out on top. You can literally travel in the future when they finally discover the location of a lost treasure, then travel back in the past to go get it yourself and then be instant rich. Or you can just keep constantly hitting the lotto. This power is literally the embodiment of who gonna stop me? Now, what does that mean for you as a threat level? Beyond global, But across time, you can screw up the timeline for the better or worse on accident or on purpose. You can cause millions to over billions of people never to exist or drastically change the path that they were meant to embark on. Each time you mess with time, you are gambling on what the outcome would be on a global scale. That might take a while for you to even realize it happened. Your enemies might not even get to remember why they hate you in the first place, or by the time you're done, and that's if you don't stop their mother from even having them at all. Now for additional powers needed, I'm gonna be real picky and say resistance to the effects of time change. This would prevent you from undoing yourself by mistake, which if you go back in time far enough, there would be no way of telling if you set that in motion or not until you start fading away. Time reset would also be a good one for when you do realize you went too far and you need to start over. Just clear the board and start again. And I'm sure some of you can think of some other ways of making this safe, but these were the main ones that stood out to me. Now for our next power, we have Necromancy. I'm going to be honest, there aren't too many ways to use this in your daily life that wouldn't lead to mass hysteria and worldwide panic. You could be a very successful medium and actually let people talk to their dead loved ones, or even have victims come back and identify their killer, and those would still freak people out. But if you weren't trying to be under the radar with it, you can use them as a labor force, an army, a Walking Dead reenactment, etc, etc. So no shocker when it comes to your threat level. Depending on what your output is, you can easily scale up to global. Most media showed raising humans from the dead, but technically it could be any creature that was once alive. If you don't have a ceiling for how many, the world is literally covered in dead bodies for you to use. Now here's the kicker. What powers do you need to safely use this? The power itself isn't harmful to you while you're using it, but there are some context things that need to be added. Now, raising the dead is one thing, but you need to be able to have control over them. Other than that, it's not harmful to use, so anything else would just be a buff. So who would win if these four faced off? I think most would pick the time traveler, since they would be able to stop the other three before they even knew something is off. I don't know, but that's just me though. But who are you picking? And what uses for the power did I miss? Subscribe and jump in the comments and let's hash this out.